Hi yarny friends, I'm Sach and welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet this beautiful Christmas Star Doily. It's a nice size. It measures about 15 by 15 inches and it's the perfect thing to use as your centerpiece on your holiday and Christmas tables or anywhere. You can put it on the mantle, you could put it on any counter or place you want to make a Christmas display. And it looks pretty with just a simple decoration or go more elaborate. One of the really cool things about this pattern is that it's only a 7-row or round pattern. We stitch every row in triples except for the very last row is done in double crochets. So it's a very, very easy and simple pattern. And if you make this in, say, a white, it looks like a snowflake as well as a star. So there's lots of possibilities with our Christmas Star Doily. Now you can find the complete pattern on my blog, and as always I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. All right, let's talk yarn. Now this one is crocheted in the Red Heart Super Saver Metallic. It takes about 3 ounces of any medium weight number 4 yarn. I chose to go with acrylic because I really loved the Super Saver in this metallic. The color's called light gray and it has that metallic thread running through it to give it some sparkle. For today's demonstration, though, I'm going to use the Soft Secret because I want a gold star also. All right, it's a medium weight number 4. It's a little bit more slicky, and it doesn't have that metallic going through it, but it does have a nice sheen to it. So I'm going to make today's demonstration in this beautiful gold. So you're going to need any medium weight number 4 yarn, and you're going to need approximately 3 ounces. And that really just depends on how tightly that you stitch. All right, we're going to be stitching today with our H hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. And then you need a needle just to weave in your ends and a pair of scissors. Let's get started. We're going to begin with our slip knot. And we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle. So we'll put the tail of yarn over our hook and pull that through. We'll snug that down and make our stay knot. Now, if you prefer to do the magic circle or another method of making the beginning circle, you certainly can. It'll work just fine. We're going to put our hook in and pull up a loop and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This counts as our first triple. So we'll put 2 loops over our hook. We'll go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over, and go through the third 2. So now we have 2 triples, and we'll do another one. And chain 2, 1 and 2. So now we have 3 triples, chain 2, and we're going to repeat this 4 more times. So we have 5 sets of 3 triples, chain 2. There's 1, 2, 3, and chain 2. So now we have 2 sets and we need to do 3 more. So now I have 3 sets of 3 triple, chain 2, and I need to repeat this 2 more times. I repeated it 2 more times, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of 3 triples, chain 2. So I'm going to join to that chain 4 with a slip stitch. I'm going to slip stitch in these next 2 triples, and then triple in that chain 2 space and chain 4. Now, before I do round 2, I'm going to turn this over and just gently pull on that string. That way I can go ahead and weave this in. You can do it later if you want to. I always just like to try to get it done if possible. I don't always do it, but I try to almost always do it. I just like to tidy it up so I don't have to worry about it later. All right, so I got my circle closed and it's weaved in. Give it a little bit of a tug and clip. And now I don't have to worry about that. So for round 1, we have 5 sets of 3 triples, chain 2. All right. Now for round 2, our chain 4 counts as our first triple. We're going to stitch another triple. And remember, it's all stitched in triples except for the last row or round. All right, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to stitch 3 more triples right in this same chain 2 space. All right, so I've made my corner. I've got 3 triples, a chain 2, and 3 triples in that first chain 2 space. So now we're going to chain 2 and go to our next chain 2 space and stitch 3 triples. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and 3 more triples. And so what we're doing is we're stitching 3 triples, chain 2, 3 triples in each of the corners with chain 2s in between. So here's that chain 2. Then I went to the next chain 2 space, 3 triples, chain 2, 3 triples, and chain 2. And we'll repeat what we did here on these next 3 chain 2 spaces. 3 triples, chain 2, 3 triples, chain 2. So I have repeated that on the last side. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of 3 triples, chain 2, 3 triples, chain 2. And at this point, it basically just looks like a pentagon with 5 points. All right, so here's my last chain 2. We're going to join to that chain 4 with a slip stitch. We're going to slip stitch in those next 2 triples, and then slip stitch in that chain 2 space, and again chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now we're going to do the corner the same. So we're going to stitch 2 more triples. Whoops, I got a split there. There we go. Oh. Yes, this yarn is just a little bit splitty, but I love the sheen of it and I wanted to use it. All right, so there's 3 triples because our chain 4 counts as our first. Chain 2 and 3 triples. 1, 2, and 3. All right, we're going to chain 2. Then we're going to go to this chain 1 space and we're going to single crochet in that chain 2 space. I said chain 1, it's a chain 2 space. And we're going to stitch 1 single crochet and chain 2. Then we'll go to our next chain 2 space. Whoops, I'm trying to stitch a double crochet. We need 3 triples. 1, 2, and 3, chain 2, and 1, 2, there we go, and 3. We're going to chain 2, single crochet in the chain 2 space, and chain 2. And I want you to take a look at this and see how that's looking. What it's doing is it's bringing it in here to start forming the shape of our star. All right? And so what we did here, you're going to repeat around and then join back to our chain 4. Let me show you again real quick. We're going to stitch 3 triples. There we go. The corner's the same. It's 3 triples, chain 2, and 3 triples. Alrighty. Then we'll chain 2 just like we did before. We'll go to that chain 2 space and stitch a single crochet and chain 2. And see? And then we'll repeat that on these next sides and join back to our chain 4. I have completed those last 2 sides. Here is my single crochet in that chain 2 and chain 2. We're going to join to the chain 4 with a slip stitch. We're going to slip stitch in the next 2 triples, and then slip stitch in that chain 2 space and chain 4. Now we're going to do the corner the same, and each of the 5 corners will be stitched the same. So we're going to stitch a triple and another triple because the chain 4 counts as our first. We're going to chain 2 and stitch 3 triples right in that same chain 2 space. Oops. Try that again. There we go. Alrighty, so now it brings us to these 3 triples right here. And so we're going to stitch a triple in each of those 3. So 1, 2, 3. And chain 2. And see what we did there? We did our corner and then we stitched 1 triple in those 3 triples from the previous corner. Chain 2, and now we're going to stitch a double crochet in our single crochet. And chain 2. All right, so now we're to the next corner. We're going to stitch a triple in each of these 3. That brings us to the corner, that chain 2 in the corner, and so we're going to stitch 3 triples. 1, 2, 3, and chain 2. And then we'll go ahead and stitch our 3 triples. And 3. Before we go any farther, I just want you to see how this looks at this point. We have our point here where we did 3 triples and 3 triples with the chain 2 in between. Then we stitched 1 triple in those 3 triples, chain 2, double crochet in the single crochet, and chain 2. Then we stitched 1 triple in those next 3 triples, not double crochets, triples. 3 triples, chain 2, and 3 triples in that chain 2 space. And now we're going to stitch a triple in each of these 3 triples from the previous row's corner. If I accidentally say double crochet, it's all stitched in triples except for the last round. All right, so see how that corner looks? We have our 3 triples that we stitched in those 3. Then we stitched 3 triples, chain 2, and 3 triples. Then we stitched 1 triple in those next 3. So we're going to chain 2, double crochet in the single crochet, and chain 2. Isn't that pretty? All right, let's do one more. All right, let's stitch those 3 triples, 1 in each of those next 3. There we go. 1, 2. There we go. I keep saying that because this yarn's kind of slick. All right, there's my 3 triples. Now we're going to stitch 3 triples in the chain 2 space. There we go. Chain 2 and 3 more triples in the chain 2 space. And then we'll stitch 1 triple in each of these triples. 1, 2, and 3. So there's that next corner. We'll chain 2, double crochet in that single crochet, and chain 2. All right, so let's look at our next corner there. See how that's looking? Isn't that pretty? I know, I keep thinking it's so pretty because it is. I'm loving it in this gold yarn, even though it's a little bit slippy. All right, so we're going to repeat that on these last 2 sides and join back to our chain 4. So I have completed around to here. We have our 6 triple stitches, chain 2, 6 triple stitches, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2. When we get over here, we want to make sure that we stitch a triple in these 3 triple stitches. Or it won't be even on this corner. And then we'll join to the 4th of the chain 4. We'll slip stitch in those 2 triples, then slip stitch in the chain 2 space and chain 4. And see how that evens everything out? Because you want to have 6, chain 2 and 6 triples, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2. If we didn't put those 3 in there, there'd be a great big gap and our corner wouldn't be even. All right? I'm just pulling these out just so you can see how beautiful that star looks already. Now that's the way that your star should look at round 4. All right, let's do round 5. And round 5 is pretty much the same as round 4. We're going to do our corners the same. We're going to place a triple stitch in each of these 6 this time instead of just the 3. We're going to chain 2, double crochet in the double crochet, and chain 2. So it's sort of the same, you just have more stitches. All right, so let's do our corner. Our chain 4 counted as our first triple, and then we're going to do 2 triples. So that gave us 3, chain 2 and 3 triples, just like we've done on the other corners. And we'll do it again on all 5 of the corners for round 5. All right, so there I have my corner, my chain 4, 2 triples, chain 2, and 3 triples. So now I'm going to place a triple in these 6 triples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to chain 2. We're going to double crochet in the double crochet and chain 2. And of course on this one, when we come back around here, we'll have to stitch a triple in each of those 6 when we come back around here to join. Alright, so let's do this one. We've chained 2. We're going to stitch a triple in those 6 triples. Oops, gotta have 2 wraps on your hook. Alright, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we'll go to the corner and stitch our 3 triples. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2 and stitch those 3 triples in that chain 2 space. 1, this one's 2 and 3, and now I'm going to stitch 1 triple in these next 6 triples. 1, 2, 3, oops, 4, 5, and 6. We'll take a look at this corner. We'll go ahead and chain 2, but see how that looks? We had our 6 here, so we stitched 1 in each of those 6. Then we did the corner the same, 3 triple, chain 2, 3 triple, and then we stitched a triple in each of those 6. And so what happens is it's growing every corner and sort of filling in. All right, so we chain 2. We're going to double crochet in the double crochet and chain 2. All right, and then what we'll do is what we did on this corner, we'll repeat on these 3, and then remember we need to stitch a triple in each of these 6 and then join to our chain 4. So we're repeating what we did here on these next 3 corners. So I've repeated this around. Here's my double crochet, chain 2, and I just want to remind you we need to stitch a triple in those 6 triples because we don't want a big weird space there. All right, so I'm just stitching 1 triple in each of these triples. There we go. 2 more. All right, last one. And we'll join to that chain 4 with our slip stitch. Then we'll slip stitch in those 2 triples. Slip stitch in our chain 2 space and chain 4. Alrighty, and this is how our star will look after round 5. Isn't that just gorgeous? I know I keep saying that, but I really love the way that this design lays. It's open and lacy and obviously a Christmas star. Alright, we're ready for row or round 6. So we're going to do the corner the same. We've got our chain 4. We're going to stitch 2 more triples chain 2, and 2 more triples. I said 2 more triples. We need 3 triples. We have our chain 4, 2 more triples, chain 2, and 3 triples. Now, this one is done just a little bit different. And so what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2. We're going to skip the next 3 triples and then stitch 1 triple in the next 2. 1, 2. All right. Then we're going to skip the next 2 triples. We're going to chain 2, skip those next 2, and then stitch 1 triple in the last 2. 1 and 2. Let me show you how that looks. I'm going to go ahead and make a chain 2. All right. So we've made our corner, 3 triples, chain 2, 3 triples, chain 2, skip the first 3 triples, 2 triples, chain 2, skip the next 2 triples, and then triple in the last 2. All right, and then chain 2. We've chained 2. Now we're going to double crochet in the double crochet and chain 2. This brings us over to our next triples. So we're going to triple in the first 2. Chain 2, skip the next 2, and triple in the next 2. And chain 2. All right, now that leaves 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip those 3 and go right to our corner and stitch our corner, which again is 3 triples, chain 2, and 3 triples. I'll go ahead and do my chain 2, but I just want you to see the way this side looks. All right, so there's where we started. Chain 2, skipped 3, 2 triples, chain 2, skip 2, 2 triples, chain 2, double crochet in the double crochet, chain 2. Then we stitched a triple in the first 2, chain 2, skip 2, 2 triples, chain 2, skip 3, and we did our corner. All right, so let's keep going. So we chain 2, we're going to skip the next 3 triples and stitch a triple in the next 2. And so when you look at this, we're skipping 3 on this side and 3 on this side of our corner. All right, so chain 2, skip the next 2, and stitch triple in the last 2. There we go. Chain 2, double crochet in the double crochet, and chain 2. And so this takes a little bit more time, but it's a more open and lacy look to this row, and I really love adding it that way. Just to make sure that you understand, let's go over this. We double crocheted in the double crochet, chain 2, 2 triples, chain 2, skip 2, 2 triples, chain 2, skip 3, Then we did the corner the same, 3 triples, chain 2, 3 triples. Chain 2, skip 3, 2 triples, chain 2, skip 2, 2 triples, chain 2, and repeat. And we'll repeat what we did here on these last 3 sides, and then again I'll show you what to do when you get on this side. So I have completed these other corners. I'm going to show you how to finish up here, which is just like we've been doing actually. Here's our double crochet, chain 2. We're going to stitch a triple in the next 2. Chain 2. You're going to skip the next 2. Stitch a triple in the next 2. You'll skip those last 3, chain 2, and join to the chain 4 where we started. Slip stitch in those 2 triples, slip stitch in the chain 2 space, and only chain 3. All right, and so now we've completed all 5 corners. Of row 6, and we just have one more row to do. Let's do row 7, which is our last row. We've chained 3. We're going to chain 3 more. 1, 2, 3. We're going to slip stitch in that 3rd chain, and then double crochet in that same chain 2 space. And so what we've done is we've created a double crochet, picot, double crochet. All right, so now we're going to double crochet in these 3 triples. Now in this chain 2 space, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. We'll stitch 1 double crochet in these 2 triples. Two double crochets in the chain 2 space. And then 1 double crochet in these last 2 triples. All right, so now this brings us to the chain 2, double crochet, chain 2. What we're going to do here is we're going to stitch 2 single crochets together around this double crochet. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in, pull up a loop on this side in that chain 2 space. Then we'll go in the chain 2 space on this side and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops. All right, and now what we're going to do is go across here with double crochets. So we'll go in that first triple and double crochet, and then double crochet in the next, 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, 1 double crochet in the 2 triples, 1 and 2, 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, 1 and 2, then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in those 3 double crochets. All right, I just kind of want you to see how that looks. That pulls in for the shape of our star. All right, so let's go to this next point here, and we're going to double crochet, chain 3, slip stitch in the double crochet, and double crochet. So there's our double crochet, picot, double crochet. All right, so now we'll work down this next side. Double crochet in the 3 triples, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 1 2 and 3, 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, 1 double crochet in the 2 triples, two double crochets in the chain 2 space, and 1 double crochet in those last 2 triples. And before we do that next stitch, I just want you to see how this is looking. What happens here is when we do that little picot, it gives us a nice point on our star. Okay? All right, let's do this again so that you can see what I'm doing. What we're doing again is we're stitching 2 single crochets together around. And we're really not going around the double crochet, we're going around the chain 2 spaces. Okay, so we're going to go in, pull up a loop, then we'll go in the next chain 2 space and pull up a loop. All right, we have those 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and go through all 3 of them. And then we just start doing our double crochets again. All right, I want you to see how that looks. Isn't that pretty? All right, so we're going to repeat what we did here on these next sides, and then again join back over here. But don't worry, I'll walk you through the end again so we have a nice, beautiful star. So I've repeated the corners and the sides. Here's my last where I did my 2 single crochets together. And then you need to come back up this side just like we did on the other sides where we're stitching double crochets in the triples, 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, alrighty. And then we stitch 1 double crochet in those last 3 triples, alrighty, and now we're going to join to the chain 3 with a slip stitch. There we go, and we're done. Except for weaving in this last little bit. I'm just going to go in that next little stitch there and pull that loop to the back. There we go. One thing I do want to mention, if your points are all curling up, you can either block that or you can loosen your tension on this last row. Because of the way I'm bringing it in these inside corners with those 2 single crochets together, I wanted that because I wanted that look of that so that it is a distinct star. But if it's curling up too much on your last row, you can loosen up your tension just a little bit or go up a hook size, maybe go up to an I instead of our H. My voice is getting tired. But that is how the star is stitched. So here are both the stars. Here's the silver one. I don't know if you can see the sparkle in that or not. And then here is the gold one. And I love both of them. I am going to block the gold one. The silver one I didn't need to. It didn't tighten up like that. But the gold one, I have a couple edges that I'm going to block a little bit. But I do love both of them. And I just want to remind you about this doily. This is intended to be open and lacy, have kind of a lacy look to it. So if it is tightening up on you, go ahead and go up to your 5.5 millimeter crochet hook and try it stitching just a little bit looser, or just loosen your tension just a little bit. But this is the doilies. They're beautiful and I can't wait to use them in my Christmas decorating this year.